Hello and welcome back to the channel. I guess I gotta apologize again. I haven't been posting many videos. There's a couple reasons. One, priorities. I really get caught up and busy with the current clients that I'm working with. And the second thing is making these videos. I love helping and talking about stuff, but the making the video, all this stuff that goes into it, editing and posting it and all that, just the anticipation of it gets really hard for me to start the video and start making one because there's such a process in it. Holy smokes. My hat goes off to those people that have these big channels that post daily even. I can't even imagine. It just blows my mind. Anyways, today I had something really important I wanted to talk about. That's why I said I think I have to make this video. But before I do, don't forget to like and subscribe, and hopefully I can get some more content out to you. The topic I wanted to talk to you today about is more directly guided towards parents and hopefully helping parents that have kids in sports. The main bulk of my business and what I do is mostly in hockey, 80-90%. I do have people that are in other sports and even outside of sports, but mostly hockey. So all of the things that I talk about are going to be in the hockey world, but the stuff that I mention is very transferable and for all parents that have kids that are in sports at any level. Right now, hockey season is kicked off and at different stages right now, but seasons are starting. Some of the colleges haven't yet, but minor hockey and pro and junior are all going right now. And so there's been a lot of talk, a lot of things. It's a real fun time for me, but a real challenging time as well because there are lots of challenges that go along with the start of a season. And you would think that with what I do, that all my focus is solely on the player, the kid, the person that I'm working with. But a lot of these things, these challenges that they are having, aren't only with the hockey world directly. I'll give you an example of a kid that I was just speaking with last week, and I was kind of digging, kind of get a feel as to what was going on because he was feeling an immense pressure, and you could just feel it. And the beginning of the season, and he's a goalie, and things aren't going perfectly. But there's other things I could tell that he was feeling all kinds of pressure, and he said as much. But then I dug a little bit deeper, and I said, who's this pressure coming from? Like, I talk, most of my work is with the client themselves and, working on becoming stronger mentally and all this. So uh, I work on not letting pressure get to you and how we can control it because most of it is actually, self-inflicted. But in this case, I started asking where it was coming from just so we could start to work on the problem. And as I got him to open up, he said it was his parents. And in particular, in this case, it was his father mostly. Um, but I'm not going to say that it's only fathers. I've seen moms that are plenty intense. Anyways, this is a real interesting thing and very, very, very common. I grew up around it, not my parents in particular, but I saw it. And then as I grew up and saw into junior, even it was crazy sometimes how not just involved the parents were, but they were putting a lot of pressure on the kid. And then as I had kids of my own and they went up into hockey and I saw it all over the place and I couldn't believe it because my parents weren't like that. And I just want to make it clear that I'm not saying that some of these intense parents are bad people because I have personal friends that are great parents, great people, loving, caring. And then there's something about the hockey arena, when you get in it, man, I don't know what it is, but it's a fact that parents sometimes get caught up in it all in this hockey world and don't realize um, what they're doing after a while, and they can get really caught up in it. You see, it's my belief that I see these parents that are actually really good people and how it changes them. It's my belief that the intentions are good almost always at the beginning. And as parents, we have, you know, a, a parental instinct, if you will, that kicks in, and we want to protect, we want them to succeed, we want them to achieve all their dreams and goals, we want them to be happy. So that's good. But then what happens is we start getting in there and trying to guide and teach and push, and it kind of gets away from us at times. I even notice it with pro athletes that have kids. You would think that that wouldn't happen, but it happens to the best of us. One of the things I was really blessed with, and I'm not going to lie, my parents didn't do that, and I don't. They weren't athletes. They just took me to the rink. They were very supportive. Like they, whatever, if I wanted to go to the rink for like 5 hours, they would make sure I got there, and they would hang out, and they were always there for me, but they never said anything. They never said anything after a bad game. They would just say good job, and then I've said this probably before in older videos, but they used to, after a game, whether I got a shutout or whether I let in 9, they would be like, good job, do you want to go to McDonald's? And we just go to McDonald's, and I would literally forget about it quite quickly. And over time, obviously I didn't really understand or appreciate it, but as I had kids of my own, I realized that it was really a great thing. They they encouraged me, and they supported me, but they didn't get involved or push. They weren't. I could never hear them in the stands. They were real quiet, and they just kind of watched. And I know they had to deal with a lot, because I know the feelings in the stands, especially as goalies, parents, how stressful it can be. But they did an amazing job, because I didn't see any of that. They just seemed so chill. Um, so, anyways, in this video, I'm not going to make like a specific list of 1, 2, 3, 4 points that you need to do as a parent. Like in some of the videos, I have it laid out nice and organized, but I'm just going to talk here, and hopefully you can pick up on some things that maybe you could use. It's totally up to you. But based on all the experience I have in multiple areas of this, I think maybe it can be helpful for you. I wanted to give you another story of a little bit older client I have. He's still a kid, but he's in junior, and awesome parents, super supportive. But one of the interesting scenarios that I saw after getting to know them, and I've been with them for a couple of years, is that when things would happen, the kids often junior playing, and if things weren't going right, he would call his dad, and about, if let's say if it was about the coach or ice time or these kinds of things, the dad was the go-to, and then he would kind of bitch to him, and the dad would be super supportive because great parent, but he'd be like, yeah, and just feed into it. The coach doesn't know what he's talking about. You're way better goalie than the other goalie, all these kinds of things. And they would have this connection, which is good, but it's this negative powwow. And it really started, I'm sure, from a lot younger age, because, you just want to support your kid. But over time, this really developed into a negative thing, and kind of building these defense mechanisms is there's always an excuse and a reason why things aren't going right, other than you just putting your head down and getting to work. And then he would, if he was feeling down or needed medication or doctor's appointments, he was calling his mom, right? And it's kind of like old habit, and had a great talk with the parents, and they totally got it. But you don't realize that you're doing it, and you think you're just being a good parent, right? But I'm a big believer in letting our kids fall down, get dirty, get up, and figure it out on how not to fall down again, and learn from your mistakes, and develop becoming a man or a woman, right? And it's hard to do when you're constantly being their lean to. And they totally got it. And they've actually been great. They've been saying, when he's been calling, they're kind of like, hey, man, you got to figure it out, and then call Dusty. And then obviously I'm very positive, but like I cut that stuff off right away and say, okay, we got to focus on really what will help us. This isn't helping. And this goes right into, as far as that kid's mentality, this happens in the dressing room as well. Healthy scratches develop these little cliques in the corner, and they start feeding off each other because it's a comfort zone. They all can relate, and they all feel for each other, but it's kind of just a negative spiral that happens. So I really suggest to the parents, take a look at that, see if you're there. I mean, you might not be doing that, which is cool, but take a look at where you're at if you're coddling them a little bit too much. And I'm not saying, put the hammer down. I'm just, be very aware of if you're feeding into it. Like if they've had a bad game or they got pulled, like say it's a goalie and they got pulled from the game, and you're like, why did they pull him? It was only 3 goals. The coach must hate him, this and that, and you're mad. So you're up in the rest of the game, watching the game. Your son's out of the game or daughter, and you're just starting to bubble, fuming. And then you get in the car, the kid's crying or a little bit older, and he's pissed. And the kid says some things about the coach. And you're like, I totally get it, son. It made no sense. I don't know what he was thinking. Boom, right there. Wrong answer, wrong way to deal with it. You got to learn to cut it off in a not a harsh parental way, but just say, hey man, this stuff happens. You got to forget about it. Maybe try not to do too much coaching, but a supportive way of just kind of redirecting his energy from this negative vibe that's going, as opposed to feeding into it. One of the other big things that I talk to parents about when they ask me, like they want some real guidance on how to deal with some of the pressures as they go up in the ranks. The hockey world can be pretty crazy, even in minor hockey, especially if you're playing at a high level. And one of the big things I try to keep it simple with them, and help them understand that the hockey rink for them is supposed to be their happy place because they love playing. And the last thing they need is to feel any kind of pressure from the parent side, because when they have these things going on, whether it be coaches or other teammates, wins, losses, all these things that are going on, the one thing that they need to feel and know 100% that when they leave that rink, they have you and a home and your support. You don't, not with words, but just that you're there. And regardless of whether they stink and have an awful game, that you're still going to be there for them regardless, and that you love them just the same, and it's only a game. As soon as you start to get on the other side of the fence and start becoming the coach, the pusher, the defender, and all of these different things that I'm talking about, they don't have that anymore. And you're supposed to be that one place that they can feel like, okay, I can decompress, right? not necessarily talk about the game. And that leads me to the infamous, I don't even know what you call it, infamous. It's the dreaded car ride home speech. And it's been going on way before me, while I was a kid. Uh, I never got it from my dad. Uh, Definitely didn't get it from my mom. But I've been in cars where I had to carpool and I've heard it, and it's crazy. And I've also seen it with some of my friends and relatives, and I've seen them get into it. Good people, not yellers or ranters, but it's like they can't help it. And it's just not the area that I think, anyways, where a parent should be. I think they should be in the support role and let them handle the stuff um, on their own. The last thing I want to talk to you about is these elite tournaments, these elite teams. If you're playing on a travel team in the States, a lot of money being put into these teams. I actually just visited one of my clients that was in a tournament here. They are from LA, but came here to Vancouver area and played in this tournament with a bunch of really good hockey teams. And the amount of money spent by the parents to make sure these kids can be in these tournaments is quite crazy. It's awesome, but it can be horrible too at the same time because of how things can get, and the parents. It can really get out of hand. So hopefully this video and some of the things I've mentioned can kind of give you a little bit of perspective. Sit back, take a look at yourself and see where you're at, and maybe try to play this other role that I'm talking about as opposed to some of this other stuff that I mentioned as well. There's another tournament too that earlier in the summer one of my clients was in. It's called the Brick Invitational, and it's amazing in lots of ways. The kids got all the gear set up, and it looks like pro level type shit. And it, in lots of ways, I was like, I remember as a kid, I never got to go to any of that stuff because my parents couldn't afford it at all, and that's okay. Yeah, but my point is, I often looked at it as a kid like, wow. I remember they had this tournament in Quebec, and the Vancouver team representing Vancouver got to actually wear Canucks jerseys and look like the Canucks, and I just thought, wow, that would be so cool. And it got me thinking when I watched my client go through this Brick Invitational and the parents go through it, they were aghast at how things were. And it's it's really important for parents to be prepared if they want their kid to go through all of this stuff, because the kid really has a dream to play in the NHL or play at a high level. That you got to be prepared for this stuff, because this hockey hamster wheel is not slowing down for anybody. It doesn't change. Some of this stuff has been going on forever, and I don't imagine it'll ever change. So it's up to us as parents to help calm those waters and just offer a level of support for our kids so they can be in these tournaments. And then people like me can offer coaching and help to kind of understand on how to handle this stuff without seeking mommy and daddy's help. And it's just something that you need to be aware of. If you haven't ventured into this stuff yet, but the kid really wants to, just I'm not saying to say no, but you just have to be really, really aware of what's going to come down the road, because it's a big challenge. But hopefully you guys can handle it, and your kid can have fun. Well, that's all I got for you for today. I apologize for the unorganized ramble. I usually have videos a little laid out better than that, but I really wanted to just speak from the heart today about some of these things that I was thinking about with all of the discussions I've been having with parents and kids. And I just thought it'd be helpful, especially it is the time of the year. Hockey season is just in full swing and some people are going through it. So hopefully you picked out a thing or two in this video and it'll help you guys and your kids. And I just want to say have a great hockey season, have some fun, and don't get too stressed out about it. Your kids will get through it. It's a great game and I just want them to enjoy it. If you felt this video was helpful in any way, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with anybody that you might think it could help. And you guys have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.